Good morning. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. My name is Nick Stern. I'm with Robert L. Stern Financial Services. I'm a certified financial planner here in Amherst, Massachusetts. So I hope you've had a good start to the year. I know I definitely have. I got married on the 31st of January, so I'm extremely excited about that. That same weekend, I'm a huge Patriots fan, so I got to see Tom Brady win his fourth Super Bowl, so it was pretty exciting start. Yes, there's been a ton of snow. It's been good for skiers and snowboarders here. I'm not really one. I'm more of a golfer. If you've tuned in before, you'd know that. But I'm ready for the winter to be over. But anyway, it's February. Thanks for tuning in. And for February's topic discussion, I wanted to talk about credit score management. This will be brief. I just want to give some tips and considerations for you to think about when you are going about managing your credit score. So, to be clear, a higher credit score is good. There's 3 different credit bureaus that are going to be the main ones that are assessing your credit level, meaning how much of a risk or how little of a risk you are when creditors run your credit report. So, a couple things to know. When you apply for a credit card, when you go for an auto loan, a mortgage, a personal loan, etc., a creditor runs your credit report, and what that's called is a hard inquiry. And yes, that does impact your credit score. Typically, it doesn't do it a great deal, but usually it'll make your credit score fluctuate a little bit towards the downside, at least probably for a couple months, if not longer than that. A hard inquiry stays on your credit report for 2 years. So just know that every time you go to a credit card company and apply for a new credit card, or in some cases even an increase in your credit limit, it's going to stay on your credit report for 2 years. Having those inquiries on there isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I've seen and read about horror stories that somebody goes to get an auto loan, for example, and the car dealership says that they're going to see who can get you the best rate, and in some cases they run your credit with 10, 15, 20 different lenders. You do not want that to happen, because that would negatively impact your credit score, and it would be very difficult to have those hard inquiries removed before the 2-year mark comes up. Also, down the line, if you're going for a mortgage or something more serious along those lines, having a couple on there is fine, but to have 10 or 15 wouldn't be a good thing, and it also might raise a red flag for creditors. For example, if you need a business credit card, it might show that, they can't manage their credit that well, and they just want to keep adding on more credit. So it might not be a good thing to have as many hard inquiries on there, just an FYI. Typically a safe level to have is 4 or under. Another thing is that when you go to get a home mortgage, what happens is you're going to want to rate shop. So even if you go to 3 or 4 or 5 different lenders, within that 60-day mark, typically lenders will view that as one hard inquiry because they know that you're shopping around for good rates. A couple things as far as everyday credit score management. Keep track of your spending. Know what you can afford, know what you can't. On your credit cards, try not to carry too big of a balance. If you have, let's say, a $1,000 credit limit, try not to carry a balance of over $500 for a long period of time. The reason being is that can negatively impact your credit score, and creditors don't like to see it. I would recommend getting into the habit of paying most or all of your balance down each month. A really good way to form that habit would be get a charge card where you actually have to pay down the charges every single month. Have an emergency fund. We've talked about that before. Just having a nice cushion of cash in the event of an emergency, or you're in a transition of a job, or something comes up and you need it. Definitely keep that in mind. And again, this ties into keeping the balance low. Just pay what you owe. Try to pay as much as possible. As far as making those monthly payments, you always want to be on time. Try to do it beforehand, but if it has to be the last minute, a couple times, probably not a big deal, but don't pay afterwards. There is typically some sort of grace period, but that's going to vary from credit card company to credit card company, and each one is going to react differently. Some are more lenient than others, but I would just get in the habit of if you have to pay it on the 18th, don't make the payment on the 18th. Pay it on the 10th. So just that'll also help you understand and get a grip on what your cash flow looks like. As far as minimums, I would always try to pay more than the minimum. If you can't do that, then that's fine, but just try to pay more than the minimum. Also, if you're in a situation where you have a good amount of debt and it's kind of overwhelming to you, and you get these notices via mail or email or phone calls that says, oh, we can help you if you have $10,000 or $20,000 in debt. If you want to explore those options, fine, but just make sure that you have a complete and in-depth understanding of what you're getting into. Some might be legit. From my experience, from people that I've known, talked to, read about, it typically is a service where they're going to buy your debt. It might appear that they're going to essentially declare bankruptcy for you so that you get to negotiate down that debt. So yes, you owe less. Yes, your monthly payment will be less, and it's just to one person or one company that you're going to owe, but that will stay on your credit report, and that will knock your credit score down significantly, and it will take a very, very long time for it to come back up and recover. For example, if you have no intentions of starting a family or house or getting married, but 5 or 6 years from now, all that changes and now you want to buy a house because you just got married, you might have, or you probably will have, an issue trying to get a mortgage if you have a bankruptcy or something like that on your credit report. Always pay your bills on time. Always pay your bills, even if it's a $20 cable bill. What can happen is even though you might not take it seriously, the cable company takes it seriously. They will sell that debt to a creditor who then can come after you for that money. And the cable company, if you do not pay it within a designated amount of time, will declare that you failed to pay, quote unquote, and that will go on your credit report, and that is a negative mark, which is something that you do not want. And it takes a very long time for that to be removed. Those are just a couple tips, considerations, things to keep in mind. If you have any questions or you'd like to talk more in depth about your own personal situation, please let me know. There's a number and email at the bottom of the screen. Our website's there. We're always open for just here to help. There's no obligation. Really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope this has been valuable and helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks, and have a great rest of the winter.